In a speech overnight, Hezbollah's supreme leader, Hassan Nasrallah, warned the Lebanese terror group cannot be silent and is ready for a war without limits in the wake of the assassination of Hamas deputy leader in Beirut on Tuesday. Nasrallah also celebrated October 7 as an act of resistance that brought down the idea of Israel as a safe haven for Jews. Here's some of that speech.
If the enemy has thought of launching a war on Lebanon, it will be fighting with no borders, no rules, no limitations, no guidelines.
For more on that and this conflict more broadly, I'm joined now by Lieutenant Colonel Sarit Zehavi, founder and president of Alma Research and Education Center, which focuses on security challenges on Israel's northern border. Sarit, thank you for your time. Now, Israel has not accepted responsibility for the airstrike that killed that Hamas deputy leader, but it hasn't denied it either. And today we've seen reports that the US defense is claiming Israel was behind it. Is it very likely that it was an Israeli attack, and why would it have happened?
I think it doesn't matter who killed El Aruri. What matters is what the other side thinks. And if Hamas and Hezbollah believes that it was Israel, so we should conclude what will come next. And I think that eventually, as we said right from the beginning of this conflict, Hezbollah is not interested to sacrifice itself for Hamas or for the Palestinian cause. Hezbollah is interested to take over Lebanon and present itself as if it is taking care of the Lebanese interests, though eventually it is only taking care of the Iranian interests. I think that Nasrallah in the past year or so is looking for excuses to drag Israel into war on the northern front. And since this war started in the south part of Israel by Hamas, we are in kind of a war of attrition situation over here up north, while every day missiles and anti-tank missiles are being launched against communities and civilians and homes by Hezbollah and Hamas to the northern border of Israel, threatening civilians against IDF soldiers. We have more than 60,000 Israelis that were evacuated that we don't know when they will be able to go back to their homes. What is this if not war?
So what do you make of some of those threats that appeared in Nasrallah's speech? He said that he wasn't making any threats of war, but he's talking a big game about having no ceiling, no limits. Are these just empty threats, or is an all-out war on the northern border a serious risk?
It is not yet an all-out war. As I've said, it's a war of attrition that every day we have an average of 10 attacks, sometimes a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more that are coming from Lebanon, sometimes also coming from Syria. I think that Nasrallah, again, will continue to try to drag Israel into war. I can say that this morning there was a killing of a Hezbollah, a military operative, which is relatively more senior than the others who were killed. And this would be very interesting to see the retaliation of Hezbollah to this. It may be even more interesting than to understand what the retaliation would be to the killing of a Hamas senior. So the question when this is exactly going to escalate, nobody can answer this question. Nobody exactly knows. We have to be prepared. I can say that as a resident of the Galilee. I packed a bag. I know that I have to be prepared for any scenario. We are here with the bomb shelters that are open. We know that we have to be prepared for any scenario of escalation, but no one can know when exactly this will happen and how exactly this will happen. I believe that Nasrallah will do it in a gradual way. He will continue to attack Israel in a gradual way and actually put the Israelis in an unbearable situation, because eventually this problem of people cannot go back to their homes safely will have to be dealt.
Yeah, and just to put it in context for our viewers at home who don't know the geography, where you are is about 10 kilometres or so from that border with Lebanon, so very real threat for you personally, I can imagine. I want to take you a little bit away from that northern area of Israel and that northern border, and talk about the fact that many countries now, including Australia, 12 countries in total, are condemning the Houthi attacks on commercial vessels in the Red Sea. And there's been some speculation that this multinational warning could be a sign that the US may launch a military strike against Houthi bases in South Yemen. I wonder if you could talk us through how you see the situation there playing out and how it might impact what's happening with Hezbollah.
I think the world should understand that it's not about Hezbollah, the Houthis, militias in Iraq and Syria. It's about a radical ideology that took over Iran in 1979, that took over the countries next to Israel here, Lebanon, Syria, furthermore, Yemen and Iraq. And now in all these countries, you have different kind of militias that are working in different ways against the West in general, not only against Israel. They view Israel as the small devil, and they view United States as the big devil. In the title of the Houthis that you just mentioned, their symbol says death to Israel, death to America. In a funeral of a military operative of Hezbollah that was killed last week, we heard the same sentences in Lebanon. There is a strict connection between all these dots. So when I see headlines in Western media that Iran is not interested in war, of course, Iran is not interested in war in Tehran. That's why it is activating the militias all over the Middle East. And these militias became that strong that they don't need a chain of command. They don't need strict orders to do this or that today or tomorrow. They can act in a very independent way because they already got the munitions, the training, and the finance they needed from Iran and the ideology.
Yes. Look, Sarit Zehavi, thank you so much for explaining all that to us and for your expertise and talking to us about it on the program. I hope you don't have to use that packed bag, but take care up there.